See, I don't believe any of the great developments in the West in any necessary sense impinge on the Christian viewpoint. In fact, I think just the opposite. It's the only viewpoint that makes sense out of all these things.
Right.
And that, after all, just about everybody wants, how do we make sense out of all this? Not my little myopic world.
Sure.
The world isn't in here. It isn't in the back seat of your truck or your car.
Right.
It isn't in this room. It isn't in this place, in this town.
Right.
It's a world quite large. And it's the complexity of the world that I think must be explained. Don't give me explanation of a shirt or a pencil or the blackboard and say, well, you don't need God for any of these. No, you don't. But I'm talking about the absolute origin of the universe and the complexity of the periodic chart. Explain that from a naturalistic evolutionary standpoint. See, most particles that develop that's on the periodic chart, their lifespan is, I don't know,
hundredths of a second or
millions of a second. Its lifespan, they would never get off the board.
Right.
So how do they continue existence? Well, I've got last year's periodic chart. I don't know how many they've been at because they don't check with me.
Oh, they don't consult you before?
No, they don't fax it in to me. But not one of these, the simplest of the complex, is explainable by itself. Because the lifespan of the more complex it is, the less lifespan it has.
And they are entities that we project to be there through extrapolation of what we
are
understand.
Assuming.
Yeah.
And only testing will see, are they or aren't they?
Right.
They might not. I've never seen anything.
Yeah.
I've never seen oxygen. I've never seen light. I see through light. I don't see light.
Right.
So all the things that just common sense talk said, well, I believe it if I could see it. Well, I said, then what is it that, do you believe in light? You don't see any light. You see through light.
Yeah.
So you can't even get going with your position. Something's wrong. Well, I don't even, it's too cerebral. I don't deal with that, okay? But I'm talking about explaining the universe, not my shirt.
Right.
Or the tires on your car, or the pollution of the environment. Those are technical consequences of positions. And it can only be adjusted or corrected in any positive sense by a Christian worldview. Now, don't give me the examples of crusades and all the negative things in the history of the church. If I thought that represented biblical Christianity, I'd agree with you.
Right. But that, as well as again, like the church before the scientific revolution, they seem to have established positions on certain things which were actually not true.
Now,
and then that embarrasses them, and it maybe it undercuts their sense of credibility as an authority source. And so instead of being open to the idea that, hey, we've got a method here, okay, we were wrong about this, so what? But they'd set themselves up maybe to where it wasn't just simply a so what big deal. Oh, we were wrong when we were so certain we were right. Then that creates.
See, if you claim to be like the papacy, now they don't claim the Pope is infallible.
Right.
Ex cathedra, well, he speaks from the throne, but that's after the 74 or 5 cardinals vote.
Right.
And they color code it. And the chimney goes up, the smoke goes up. Yeah. And but when he speaks ex cathedra, so the Catholic Church does not say the Pope is infallible. Right. They say he's infallible when he speaks from the throne.
Right. In regards to these certain very controlled matters.
Now, that's
right.
correct.
Right.
So
it's not. I mean, it's not merely a reckless.
No.
Right.
See, because if you're infallible about everything and I demonstrate that you're mistaken, well, at least the mistakes don't count, or you're mistaken, or that don't count. Right. No, you see all those things rushing into the same, and people that are biblical or pietistic, they retreat inside, so then your feelings, nothing will impinge on your feelings.
Ask me how I know he lives within my heart.
I never did sing that song. Well, I wasn't announcing, please tear that out of the book.
No.
I said, I can't sing that.
No, you could apply that very same sentiment to Elvis. A lot of Elvis fans say he still lives within my heart.
And they're crazy, and he does.
Well, he had a great voice. Yeah.
But anyway, it's that kind of thing.
Sure.
See, if how you feel, feeling justifies everything. Well, if it justifies everything, then you got feeling groups and they contradict one another. Well, how would you know by feeling that these groups contradict?
Right, how do you, yeah.
You wouldn't even know that they contradict.
How would you adjudicate one feeling from the other?
No, you can't adjudicate feelings. Feelings, I don't deny that people have feelings. That's not an epistemology, theory of knowledge to me.
Right. No, you're not going to advance on that.
You do not advance science by how you feel about it.
Right.
Newton wasn't a genius because he just felt that he was right. Galileo wasn't a genius because he just felt good. Or Descartes was a genius, so he just felt this way. That is not what the discussion, how you feel. We have to go right to 18th, 19th century Protestant theology and Schleiermacher's Gefuhl.
Right.
So the faith was placed in feeling. Well, you couldn't refute feeling, so therefore you didn't need apologetics or deal with science. Then classical liberal theology, you know that.
Yeah, faith is, or feelings couldn't be reduced to merely quantifiable.
Yeah, and Schleiermacher's phrase, Gefuhl, doesn't just mean you have a headache. It means a feeling. But then I have not the slightest idea what you're talking about.
Right. And nowadays, where they talk about the God gene and feeling of religious experience being artificially triggered by certain types of apparatus. Now it's reducible merely to chemistry. Religious experience is merely chemistry.
Isn't that a reduction?
Yes. And Gefuhl couldn't escape that.
But
apparently.
But you can't. Your very science that you claim
Yeah.
has no self-justification on that basis. See, if a view of science conclusion can't explain itself, it's in trouble.
Yes.
Hmm?
Right.
You don't have to explain everything, but you have to explain yourself. If you can't, well then that's not an explanatory system. Well, anyway.
You're merely going on pragmatism because it works.
No, that's
Right,
all these things are unpacking in the Western world. So go to 2 or 3 more.
Well, just to summarize though, like what you got here about Descartes. Again, he lived 1596 to 1674, and as you summarize here, the origin of rationalism and grounded in mathematics stated that the finite ego is the ultimate origin and justification of belief.
Now, this is what happens with Cartesian rationalism. Now, he was Catholic.
Right.
Practically went to Mass more than I do.
Sure.
But you see, he grounded this in a finite ego, not the ultimate ego of God. But he was trying to protect against skepticism of the ultimate ego, the ultimate self.
Is he maybe trying to demonstrate that, look, even, at least from his perspective back then, if our finite ego can find a foundation of rationalism and confidence, at least in mathematics, does that then perhaps...
that would justify you having a cosmic ego.
Right. We would be like a small representation of what...
Now that, he didn't aim to do that.
No.
He was a practicing Catholic.
I mean, sympathetic with his concerns.
Yeah. But he was trying to save it.
Yes.
Not destroy. It's like
Right.
Kant. I think that's, when we get to Kant,
Right.
his perspectivism. Kant's First Critique is the most important philosophical book written in the past 200 years.
And its effects are still lingering.
And its effects are with us to this very hour.
Right.
Well, he's not just a smart man with an A in something. He was dealing with the limitations of rationalism and empiricism. He was trying to transcend, not to deny, their contribution, but that these are not by themselves adequate explanations.